pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So I think we have a couple of extensions to start. So appeal number 3113, the applicant Radnor Rockwell LLC, property located at 1001 Eagle Road, requesting an additional extension of time for obtaining a permit under section 280-144 of the code for 6 months until December 5th, 2023. And you're on here twice, so we'll
I was going to
start
ask
with
if we could do A and C. It's the same application, basically at the same time. It's the same application. It was just two different sets of relief.
Right. They were separated but you're looking for the same. Well, one's till December 5th. Let's just take them in order. I won't have you sit down. Okay. We'll do C after this.
All right. Rob Lambert here on behalf of the applicant. Here to say that we've made great progress. We've been going through the land development process. We received a recommendation of final approval or final approval from the board. We're now into the stage of outside agency approvals, and we're working through those outside agency approvals. Hope to be able to, in the next coming months, to be able to attain all those, to be able to get a shovel in the ground.
Okay. Remind me, is this the first request for an extension on this application?
I believe
or is this a second?
I believe this was at least the second.
I think so too.
It might even be the third extension. But as we've discussed in the past, a project of this scale, it was expected that we won't have a permit in 6 months. We went through a preliminary final stage. We actually condensed our land development into preliminary final one process, but we did extensive neighbor meetings, which really just consumed a lot of time.
That's what I remember from the last one, was some neighbor meetings and
innumerable neighbor meetings, and then
the regulatory process.
And then we came back under application 3148 for parking relief.
Yes.
And so it's really the same application going through.
Right. Okay. Any board comment or concerns?
I was wrong. I have a quick question. What is your expected timeline? I looked at the letter and the request, and it struck me that you're here early to begin with. I mean, I'm just wondering why you're not in front of us next month instead of this month. But what magical is not going on that is causing you to come in April for an extension to December?
George Brosman. I wrote the letter. I actually thought we would be on the May agenda, and I got it in like 30 days in advance. And
George, you know how efficient we are.
You're so efficient. The township put us on the agenda, and we were never one to turn down the opportunity. So we thought we would be coming in May.
But to answer your first question, so we have outside agency. We're in the process of a PennDOT permit. We have an NPDES permit issued through the county. We also have a planning module issued through the DEP. I would love to be able to sit here and say that I have them all in 30 days, but they're government agencies. We've been in the process for a while. Realistically, I would say it's going to be late summer or fall before we have all of the outside agency pieces in place. And then once we have those, then we'll have to go into the permitting process with the township.
And when you're putting the packet together for the permits, obviously, to the extent any of those agencies cause you to do things that you hadn't provided for in prior submissions, you have to fit into the permitting process?
Correct. We've made all the applications. We've gone through at least one series of reviews on all of them. But again, for a project of this scale, they take some time.
Thank you.
And so you did point out that we have two different dates on the two different appeals. Just for simplicity, if we could make those the same date, that would be great. It's the same application.
Technically, they're different, so we'll handle it different.
the same.
I know what you
mean. The same development.
I understand. Gus, do we use December 5th or December 31st or?
I think that December 31st will be fine. I don't think there's an issue at all with doing either one. It's up to the board.
Okay. All right. I don't think I'm sensing any objection.
No, I mean, the first application asked for a 6-month extension. They're getting a 6-month and 3-week extension.
Yeah.
Other
Okay.
than that, no.
All right, so we'll grant the extension for 3113, and then let me just read 3148 into the record. So appeal number 3148, the applicant Radnor Rockwell LLC, property located at 1001 Eagle Road, request an additional extension of time for obtaining a permit under section 28144 of the code for 6 months until December 31st, 2023. So we'll just adopt what we just heard under 3113 for purposes of 3148. And again, absent any objection from the board, that's likewise granted.
Great. Thank you
Good
very
luck
much.
as you continue. Excuse me. Appeal number 3125, the applicant Daniel Takifman and Angela Shen, property located at 515 Brookside Avenue, request an additional extension of time for obtaining a permit under section 280-144 of the code for 6 months until October 29th, 2023.
Evening, Nick Cornelia, representing the applicant on this. This is a second extension request. It was a two-stage project. One was with the home and the rear of the home and the terrace regarding floodplain, and the other portion of it was with a garage, replacement of a garage, also in the floodplain. The portion regarding the home has been permitted and is under construction. The portion with the garage is about to be permitted. In fact, the applicant told me they're meeting with the architect tomorrow to finalize plans, and hopefully we'll have plans finalized in the next couple weeks and have a permit request before the township shortly.
Any questions from the board, comment? No? John?
I'm just wondering, I mean, I think I recall the application. Is there something special that caused some sort of a delay in preparing the plans for the garage?
That is correct, because the township had installed a stormwater management system and actually through the property, and nothing really got started until after that was completed.
Thank you.
Okay. Without objection, then, we'll grant that extension.
Thank you.
Okay. Appeal number 3157, the applicant 411 West Wayne LLC, property located at 411 West Wayne Avenue and zoned C1 commercial. The applicant requests variances from section 280-48E to reduce the required rear yard setback of 35 feet to 17.10 feet. 280-48D1 to reduce the required side yard setback of 20 feet to 15.79 feet. Special exception from 280-105F to install parking in the front yard setback. Variance from 280-105F for certain parking spaces to be less than 20 feet from the street right-of-way. And a variance from 280-49C to allow a driveway turnaround at the rear of the property to protrude into the 15-foot buffer. Anyone here for that?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Fred Fromhold. I'm an attorney and represent the applicant 411 West Wayne Avenue LLC. The member and principal of that LLC is Ken Zhu, who is here this evening, and he will be our first witness. We have two other witnesses, civil engineer and our building designer, who called about 25 minutes ago saying he had a flat tire, but he thought he would be here, and I think he will be here by the time we reach him as a witness. But I'd like, if I may, just to talk a couple of minutes about the application.
If I may interrupt just 1 second, my apologies.
Sure.
Do you want to wait for your engineer to arrive and we'll move on to another matter, or you want to proceed? I'm not inclined to split your proceeding.
Now, I understand that. And what my
you.
personal preference is, and what is probably the best for the board might be for us to wait until the witness arrives, simply because I don't know how soon he would arrive. So thank you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll come back to 3157. Appeal number 3158, the applicant Brian and Deanna Galloway, property located at 9 Rodney Road and zoned R4 residential. The applicant seeks relief from section 280-30C for new entry mudroom at existing covered porch area, currently within the front yard setback. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Then I'll swear you in, if you'll each raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And state your name and spell.
Deanna, Deanna, Galloway, Galloway.
Brian, Brian, Galloway.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Thank you. We are seeking about 10 and a half feet, exactly 10 and a half feet rather, into the front of the house setback where an existing covered porch already exists, so.
If you want to put those on the table, then they'll zoom in. That would be perfect.
So this space right here is currently a covered porch built probably sometime in the 1980s or early 90s. It's aluminum front porch space. It's impervious, and it is connected to the house. And we are seeking to make it a permanent sort of mudroom and entry space. It was never permitted in the past, we don't believe. It was there when we purchased the property.
Okay. Do you have, I mean, I see in the packet there's some photographs. Do you want to walk us through the project, what it looks like currently, and, you know, what it'll look like, or what you're proposing to do?
Sure. I hope the photos show that it looks like a 1980s porch. And
Do you want us to put the slides up, or are you guys okay to come?
Yeah,
to-
no, put the slides up for our
Got it.
massive TV audience to see it.
Where shall we start? How about right there?
Okay. This is what the exterior of the house currently looks like. We've been working, okay. We've been working with our architect, who's with us today, and hopefully, after the renovation, it will look like this. Do we have a color rendering of it? No, okay.
We have,
So does this cover is there a front door, or I don't want to mischaracterize it?
You're
Is
correct.
This is the front
Correct.
entrance to the home?
Correct.
It is.
Okay, and are you proposing then to move the entrance to the home?
yes, so
Okay. So, yeah, why don't you talk about that then? Because I see it looks like you're proposing double hung windows, and we're getting a little out of sorts. Let's mark some exhibits and then we'll, yeah. Well, let's do the application as A. We could do the existing property as Exhibit B. Sorry.
How about A1, A2?
A1, A2, that's fine, sorry. A1, yeah. We'll do the existing property photograph as A2. The to-be-built sketch, A3. This one? You just covered it. Yeah. 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 Let's do the plan
I'm
as
sorry,
A4.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
We've got a couple of these drawings. The
Okay.
exhibit we just marked as A3, is that looking from Rodney to the house?
correct.
Yes.
Okay,
We'll call the,
that's A3,
yeah, we'll do the.
front elevation.
The,
we can call it a front
the
elevation.
larger set of plan, the one-page plan is A4 then. Yes. So that's what has been shown so far. As you put up new things, we'll pick up from number 4 and go from there. Okay, so how do you enter the home currently?
So correct. So you enter the home through that small, you can see the front door just above the hedges there.
Okay.
So typically, someone would walk down that pathway and enter the home facing Rodney Road
Yeah, he's referring to A2.
on A2. That's correct.
And we're sorry about all these A1, A2, A3 things, but really the official record of what we're doing here is written and not video, not, I'm sorry. Somebody cut my mic. Good idea. No, it's not video, it's a written record, so that's why we have to be specific about what we're looking at and what you're pointing to, and sorry.
Okay, sorry, so go ahead. So existing front door is depicted on A2 under that covered section of the porch.
Correct.
Okay, and is it a step up there, or is it a concrete slab?
It's a step. Yep, it's a single step.
One
A
step up,
A railroad tie.
and it's brick underneath.
Brick, okay, okay, go ahead, so.
And so the proposal is to, this is, I forget which A that was, to be honest.
Proposed renovation.
This is right, the post renovation. And so, yes, go ahead and put the next one up.
Okay.
The goal would be to enter the home from that walkway
Okay.
leading up, which would begin on the side of the house, on the side of the proposed renovation space.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I have the one that you've got on screen now.
The one that
plan
is on the
inside
screen now is
elevation.
probably going to be A5.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got 2 side elevations
Yep.
Yes.
and an overhead with just a plan.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry, I lost track in the exhibits. We did it to ourselves. So the proposed renovation then, just walk us through. The bottom left depiction is showing what?
So,
The bottom left depiction, I believe, is showing the above. Do I have that correct?
So that's
Okay.
just a
It's the
plan,
side
plan for the space. And you know what? Not to accelerate things, and I don't know if your architect was thinking about helping out, but it's going to be useful to have your architect help us with this
Okay.
as well.
Do you need me to promise things? I do. Sure, it's Gina, Jeanna, Ventura, Ventura. Okay.
Here, actually, why don't you take this? It will make it easier.
Thank you. So this plan is showing, this is the new floor plan, which shows the current covered porch, which is the shaded, these are the shaded walls are new. We're keeping the existing front door, existing front windows, because they are within a pretty thick stone wall. And so this is sort of a new entrance, if you can see the door swing on the right-hand side, that will have some new tile, stone, brick, we haven't decided yet, flooring, with built-in cubbies and a bench for storage for, all the kids' things that are numerous. This is the side elevation. If you're looking at the front of the house, this is on the left side. And it just has a cute little window up here because we do have a good bit of storage on the left in plan. The right-hand side, so that would be you walk up their front walk. The new entrance would be on this side. The house number will be on the front, so you'll be able to see it from the street. Having large French door with 2 big side lights, so lots of glass can come in.
And what's there now, is that going to be demolished?
So it is. It's a very rickety old aluminum roof that needs to come down.
And in terms of are you pouring footings or?
So I haven't contracted with the engineer yet, just wanted to see if this was a go before we spent a lot of money and a lot of time. So we'll pour new footings, new walls, the new roof. If you look at the front elevation will be a black standing seam. We're hoping to match the existing siding. That's a real pretty gray, horizontal, hardy plank siding with a stone base to wrap around to match the existing stone on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the house you can see there. And that stone base will wrap around the entire new structure.
And is there any intention to increase the footprint size of this porch?
No, we don't want to increase it at all. We'd like to keep exactly where it is. It's a very suitable size. The addition, I think, is a nice proportion to what's there. It fits the community around it, and I think if we use the materials that are echoed in the existing home, I think it will tie in nicely.
Okay. Have you engaged any of, this is not necessarily to you, but
Okay.
yeah, have you engaged any of your surrounding neighbors in a conversation?
So we came up with in exhibit probably Z at this point, way at the back.
Hey, we're not even close.
Yeah, okay.
Six.
There are some letters towards the end of the packet that we sent out to, how many neighbors, 5, 6?
5.
5 neighbors, saying that they did approve this.
And all the neighbors are contiguous neighbors to us as well. Both sides attached, and our 3 direct neighbors across the street who have to look at it.
Behind the deed. Okay. So we'll mark the letters as A6 then, just to keep our record straight. A6, yeah. Okay. Nobody objected to the proposal?
They all said it will look so much better.
And although you're changing the front entrance, you're not changing the traffic pattern.
No.
Right.
There's currently a brick path that you step up onto to get into the front porch, to get to the front door.
Anything else you want to present to us?
So I think, and this is just in the packet, but I might just reiterate, we're not going over any impervious that's existing there. They're still well under by 5% with the total lot area. We did find 2 homes in the neighborhoods that have received variances that we took some photographs of them. This is one is 6 Rodney Road, which is across the street. I believe they got side yard variances. I think that's correct. Sure, it's 6 Rodney Road. Another home is across Lancaster, but the character is still the same neighborhood, and that's at 4 Blackfriar Road. They got a front yard variance as well to build a 2-story addition with a porch.
We can call those A7 and A8 respectively.
Yeah, there's pictures here, so we may as well mark them right. We'll make A6 Rodney Road A7 and 4 Blackfriar as A8. All right, and while we're at it, let's just mark everything. We'll make the deed A9. I have 2 more if you want to just give some more perspective, and then we probably,
Okay,
yeah.
Those are just your neighbors.
so A10 is all of our adjoining neighbors that are across the street from us. It is 8 Rodney, 6 Rodney, and 4 Rodney across the street. The following picture is our contiguous neighbors on our side of the street. The first one is 7 Rodney. The middle one is our house. And the third picture is 11 Rodney.
Okay, anything else?
No, just thanks for your time.
Okay, all right, so you would move your exhibits into the record, if you would like to do that?
Yes, please.
Without objection, okay. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Motion? I missed my meeting. Yeah, is there a motion?
I would move that we grant the relief that the applicant seeks from Section 280-30C for a new entry and mudroom at the existing covered porch area currently within the front yard setback.
Second?
Okay. I think the only thing I'd want to say is if we could add on to the end of that in accord with the plans as presented in the application. Good.
In accordance with the plans as presented and moved into evidence.
Okay. You'll still second that?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Board discussion? None? No. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're going to take a
Oh,
vote.
we have to
Oh,
vote.
I vote yes.
You're reading the tea leaves, but not yet. George? John?
Aye.
John? Aye. I'm also in favor. So good luck with the project.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, yay.
You could leave it up there. I do not see Mr. Fromhold. So we'll keep moving then. All right. Sorry, let's give 1 minute because Nick's on the. Ah, here he comes. Are you ready? We are, thank you. Great, okay. So we'll go back then to appeal number 3157, 411 West Wayne LLC, property located at 411 West Wayne Avenue. I'm not going to read it back into the record.
Thank you, and our other witness still is under repair, but hopefully we'll be here in a timely manner.
Well, we do have one more if you want to give him another.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to do. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we'll go to appeal number 3159, the applicant St. Edmund's Home, property located at 701 County Line Road and zoned R1 residential. Applicant seeks reasonable accommodations pursuant to the Fair Housing Act to permit a residential home for 4 physically disabled handicapped adult women in a supervised group home licensed by the state. The residents formerly resided at St. Edmund's Home, but are required to be placed in a residential setting since they have reached the age of 21. Applicant seeks reasonable accommodations under the Fair Housing Act, a variance or any necessary relief from the definition of family in section 280-4 of the zoning code. Applicant further seeks any other zoning relief required by this application and the exhibits attached here too. Mr. Knight.
Good evening, Nick Cornelia, representing the applicant, St. Edmund's Home. I believe the application kind of states what my opening would be, so I'll skip to that and go right to the witness. Denise? Denise, what is your profession?
I work in the field of intellectual disabilities. Field of intellectual disabilities.
And how are you currently employed?
I'm the administrator at St. Edmund's Home for Children.
And how long have you been the administrator at St. Edmund's?
20 years, since 2003.
And just quickly, your educational background, you were educated locally?
Locally, Cabrini University. I have a bachelor's in Bachelor of Science in Special Education and a bachelor's degree in elementary education and a master's degree in education. And I've been in the field for 42 years.
And our application that's been marked as A1, that's requesting reasonable accommodations from the zoning code for a community home for 4 severely disabled women?
Yes.
And A1 was the application, correct?
Correct.
And A2 is the deed to the property, and the current owner is the trust, the DeCandelora Trust.
Correct. Correct.
DeCandelora, DiCandeloro. And you have entered into an agreement of sale, or St. Edmunds Home, I should say, has entered into an agreement of sale
Yes.
with the DeCandeloras for the purchase of the property, and that's been marked as A3, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And tell us, what is St. Edmunds Home for Children?
St. Edmunds Home for Children is a residential facility. All of our kids go out to schools in the communities, dependent upon the individual child. They live there, they rarely go home. We provide therapeutic services and 24/7 nursing services. The children that reside at St. Edmunds Home are in the severe to profound range of an intellectual disability. They face physical challenges. Most of our kids are in wheelchairs, and some are enterally fed, so they have medical complexities.
Are there any emotional disabilities at St. Edmunds? It's all physical and intellectual,
Yes, yes.
and not emotional.
No.
When was it established, St. Edmunds?
1916. It originated in Philadelphia. It was originally a home for children with polio, and in 1956 moved to Roberts Road in Radnor Township.
And what services are provided?
Physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, again, 24/7 nursing services, music therapy, aquatic therapy.
How do they come and live at St. Edmunds? How do they get placed to St. Edmunds?
We're not very good at marketing, so it's typically parents talking to other parents, doctors, hospitals, the nurse at school, teachers,
What ages are we talking about at the home?
from birth to 21.
What happens when they turn 21?
They have to transition to an adult placement.
And why is that?
Our charter is for children. We continue to receive referrals for children. There is a need. We provide a very unique service.
And how many current residents do you have on site at the Rosemont campus?
We have 44.
And do you have any other community homes?
We have one
And where's that located?
in Newtown Square.
How is St. Edmunds funded?
We're funded through the Medical Assistance Program, so it's through Medicaid. We receive state and federal funds to operate the home.
Is there any funding from the parents provided, the parents of the children?
No,
Do you do fundraising as well?
we do.
And what's the fundraising for?
Fundraising is because we receive Medicaid, and it never fully meets the expenses.
Now, for this particular home that's being proposed here in Radnor, how is it being funded?
It would be an intermediate care facility, just like the home on Roberts Road. So
And
that's through medical assistance,
So it's funded by the state?
state and federal funds.
Okay, is there any regulation as to the number of people you must have in the home from a state and regulation funding standpoint?
Yes, so through the Social Security Act, it's Title 19 of the Social Security Act. That's how they fund ICF programs, and the minimum number of beds for those programs is 4.
And when you say ICF, what is ICF?
Intermediate care facility.
All right, and that would be a facility such as being proposed here?
Yes.
Again, would the families pay anything in this regard?
No.
Okay, so the reason that you're having 4 is because you have to have 4 to be funded.
Correct.
I'm going to show you a couple photographs of the site itself. First, I'm going to show you what's been marked as A4. Is that an aerial view of the property?
Yes.
And that I have like a black line pointing to where the property is located.
Yes.
And that it looks like it's at the intersection of County Line Road and the Blue Route overpass. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And was there a reason why you came to this site entered into an agreement of sale for this site?
I've looked for a home for over a year, and I looked for a home that was isolated. So our neighbor to the one side is the Blue Route, and on the other side, there's a lot of trees. And in the back of the property, there's also a lot of trees.
I'm going to show you as A5, and this is from the county website, and that triangular portion, that's the property that hopefully you'll purchase.
Yes, correct.
And that big yellow, that's the Blue Route, correct? That big yellow to the left of the triangle?
Yes.
I'm going to show you as A6. Is this a view of the property from County Line Road?
Yes, correct.
And it's a single, it's like a one-story ranch-style home?
Yes, we needed a ranch home.
Are you proposing any modifications to the exterior of the home?
There's one step that goes into the front door, so that would be modified. That's all.
Modified to make it handicap accessible?
Yes, correct.
And outside of general upkeep and housekeep, you're not intending any additions or anything of that nature?
No.
Showing you what's been marked as A7, and that's a view of the home to the left and the Blue Route overpass to the right. Would that be an accurate assessment?
That's correct.
And then A8, again, a view of the home, and then to the left is a heavily buffered area.
Correct.
That if you looked at that county map, looks like it's a separate lot. Correct?
Correct.
You have to, remember, you have to respond. Okay, you can't just nod. A9, is that a view again of the home to the left looking, that would be west on County Line Road?
It is, correct.
And then A10, that would be looking at the home, looking east on County Line going toward Villanova University.
Correct.
And did you pick this home to blend into the residential character of the neighborhood?
I did, correct.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the residents. So you're having 4 residents. The intent is 4 residents to move into this home?
Yes.
And what would be the sex? Female?
Female.
And their ages?
22, 23.
Do they require a 24-hour nursing home?
They do.
Are they ambulatory?
No.
So they will be in wheelchairs?
Correct.
What is their general physical condition?
They are in the profound range of an intellectual disability. They are in wheelchairs. They're nonverbal. Visual impairment. One has cortical blindness, osteopenia, cerebral palsy.
So they suffer from conditions that substantially impairs their major life activities.
Yes, correct.
I assume they're not able to drive.
They're not able to drive. They're nonverbal.
Right. Will they be living similar to a family unit?
Yes.
Maybe sharing meals together?
Yes. 2 of the girls have shared a room together at St. Edmunds. One has lived there for 18 years, the other for 20. So it'd be wonderful if they could move into this home and share the rest of their lives together.
How about their activities?
Activities are just like family activities. They'll be celebrating birthdays and listening to music and doing arts and crafts and sensory integration activities like that. They would come to St. Edmunds for any therapies that would be needed.
Are they permanent residents?
They would be permanent.
So they're permanent till
They pass away, yes.
How are they cared for? I mean, what staff would you have there? And the staff, again, is paid for by St. Edmunds, by the funding that you would receive?
Through medical assistance, yes.
And how are they cared for?
They would be cared for by a nurse 24/7 and a caregiver. And at times throughout the day, there would be 2 caregivers and a nurse, and at other times there'd be 1 caregiver and a nurse.
And the caregivers and nurse, they're not residents of the home?
No,
Are they on shifts?
they're on shifts.
And really, they're supposed to be active and alert 24/7. They're
Yes,
not
there's
sleeping
no
for-
sleeping, yes.
Well, what's your normal shifts? 8 hours or 12 hours?
Nursing is 12 hours, and the life assistants or caregivers would be 8 or 12.
As to renovating the home, are basically the renovations going to be interior?
All interior,
How many bedrooms are you planning?
4.
Four, one for each
Yes, correct.
The therapy, is therapy provided on-site or off-site?
It would be off-site,
At St. Edmunds?
correct.
And you mentioned there'd be nursing staff there 24/7, at least one nurse 24/7?
Yes.
Are there any large truck deliveries or anything of that nature?
No.
Is there anything different than what a large family would experience living in a home?
No, it would be the same. We may have furniture delivered. That's,
Okay,
would
but
be
no
it.
large truck
No,
deliveries?
no.
Groceries are the normal groceries that a
They-
family would go out and buy?
Yes.
Okay. I have nothing further for Denise.
Any questions?
I noticed that in a brief narrative that forms a part of your application, it says that they would be cooking together. Are the residents, will they be doing cooking themselves? Could you explain that a little bit? Because it sounds like they're
It's an
profoundly
activity
handicapped.
for sensory.
Pardon me?
It's more for sensory. The feel of batter in a bowl.
Okay. I'm thinking of using a stove, flame, the unregulated behavior like that. That's not happening.
They're not able to do that.
Okay.
Denise, if I may, I'm just going to mark as A11, and I believe, and you can correct me, these are photographs of the home in I believe it's Newtown Square, Broomall, that you currently have? And do these actually represent basically the home and the interior of that home?
They do, yes.
And I do have an email also that I received from a James Gibbons, and I'd like to mark that as A12. Again, this was an unsolicited email that I had just received at work. I believe it was on Tuesday.
And these photos are the same ones that are on the website?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I got them.
Oh.
Right, yeah. Gus had, yeah, if you want to mark Don's letter as A13, I did receive that. Don Curley, C-U-R-L-E-Y. That's 13. And that, again, was an unsolicited letter. Well, again, he had called me and asked how he could help. And I said, why, if you wish to send a letter that.
Any other board questions?
I have a question. The standard is reasonable and necessary. I understand it's necessary because they've aged. Because the proposed residents have aged out of their present location, is that right?
That's correct.
And it's reasonable because, for the same reason essentially, I suppose, and that this is a facility that has the sort of properties, attributes that a single story, it's got an expressway on one side of it, neighbors behind trees on the other side of it, so it fits the bill of what you're looking for. Is that
Right.
right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's reasonable accommodations, and
Yeah.
certainly, as you heard, that the only way we can do this is to have 4 people in it. And also, that case also, that I'm sure everyone is referring to, the Remed case, references the burden, and the burden's on the township to show that there's an undue burden on the township to deny this. I think the case law, and those of you who are familiar with the Fair Housing Act, the case law is pretty clear on this issue. I gave you a memo. I don't really think I need to go into the argument on it unless the board wishes.
No,
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 the-
I think we have a pretty good picture of what this, of what the Fair Housing Act requires. But to make sure it's on the record that
Sure.
reasonable and necessary is on there, and it is, so.
Well, the other thing, and we went through this in the 5th Ward, if you remember, Nick, the biggest concern from the neighbors is traffic and noise, and in that case, the person was ambulatory, and I don't want to use the word escape, but that captures it once or twice. But here, they're not ambulatory, it's a low staffing level, and right there on County Line Road couldn't be a better spot.
And they're not, that's why I asked Denise, are we talking about emotional disabilities? And it's not, because I know that's always a concern, but this is total physical handicap.
Nick, the only thing I would ask you to address just briefly is the definition of family, how that impacts this application, and the fact that there's no,
Right.
tip it off, there's no group home definition.
Yeah,
in-
there's no statute in Radnor, which is another matter that I didn't really raise that issue. I didn't want to get into a constitutional argument on the statute, at least here. As you know, Radnor only provides for 2. No more than 2 unrelated people residing together. In this particular incidence, the reasonable accommodation is they have to have 4. And also, it's 4 acting as a family. It's not just 4 people going their own way. It's 4 basically living together. And it's important to note, these are permanent residents. These aren't people that are going to be switching in and out like a boarding home. These are permanent residents that would be residing there. And if you look at the Remed case, that statute, again, there was no ordinance, I believe it was Willistown Township, and they had no ordinance regarding community homes. And their ordinance said no more than 5 unrelated people living together. And the court threw out that ordinance saying that 8 people were permitted to reside. And not only were 8 people residing in that home, but 8 people residing in 2 other homes on the same block, run by the same organization. So I think we meet all the standards that would be required under the Fair Housing Act to meet the reasonable accommodation standard.
Okay. Anything else?
Public comment?
Yeah. I wanted to make sure you're finished.
And I request exhibits be made part of the record, please.
Without objection. Is there any public comment on this application? No? Okay. Do I have a motion? To do it.
No, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, I would move that the applicant be granted the relief being requested on the basis of having shown satisfaction of the requirements for reasonable accommodations pursuant to the Fair Housing Act.
Second.
Any board discussion? No, I'll just be brief. We most certainly heard a necessity based on the funding requirements. We most certainly heard the group living as a family unit, and I think that's the intention of not only our ordinances, but for that matter, to make sure that the housing is available to everybody, so.
Mr. Chairman, may I just clarify if that the motion to grant the reasonable accommodation includes the variance of the definition of family on the appropriate section 280-4?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take a vote. John? John?
It's a pretty good shot if you call John, you're going to get somebody to respond.
That's true.
Aye.
I'm also in favor, so motion carries 4-0. Good luck with the project. Thank you.
Our heads are spinning.
Okay, one more shot. Any luck? Flat tire's tough.
Not yet, and we haven't heard.
Okay.
But he
It's-
would be our last witness, and,
It's your case,
yeah, what I don't want to do, I don't want to wind up with a situation, I don't think I will, but I don't know.
talk on the microphone. Microphone.
Yeah,
okay.
thank you. If it would be undesirable for you to hear two witnesses and not the third, which I don't think is going to be the case, but it could be, then I don't want to create an undesirable situation for the board where we would continue it at that point and then ask to bring our other witness back.
I'm going to defer to the solicitor on that.
Well, it's up to the, obviously, it's the board's discretion if you want to take some witnesses today and continue the hearing to hear another witness at another time. That's your discretion. It's also it's possible if the board's so inclined to continue the entire application. It's council's case. I don't know how pivotal or critical the witness that you're waiting for is part of your application.
Yeah, and I think he's an important witness, given the nature of our case. We're seeking approval, as you may know, from the application of a building that is a commercial use on the first floor, an office use on the first floor, which meets the requirement of the C1 zoning district, and then we have living accommodations on the second and third floor. But it's, and we have improved our case since last week when we appeared before the Planning Commission. Our plan now eliminates 2 of the variances that had been advertised. We're no longer seeking to have a turnaround in the rear area, and our balcony has been flipped to the east side of the building, which is on the pizza establishment side, so we don't need relief for that. So the items that still require relief are the building extension into the rear yard, but we've pulled it away from the rear yard an additional 5 feet since we appeared before the Planning Commission. So the advertised relief was to give us a variance so that we could get as close as 17.1 feet to the rear yard, but we've now moved it away from that rear property line so that we're 22.1 feet away. So we improved it by 5 feet. And we still require the same relief as it relates to the parking in the front yard, and there are 2 items of relief there. One, you need a special exception to park in the front yard, and then you need a variance if you are going to park within 20 feet of the right-of-way line. And we have parking spaces that we believe necessarily need to be located in that portion of the lot, given the size and shape of the lot.
So let me just interrupt you for a second.
Surely.
The changes that you're discussing, are they reflected in the?
They are. They're reflected. Well, I'm sorry. They are reflected in the exhibit that we are going to introduce this evening. We just got the Planning Commission's input last Monday, and then we worked to see how we might massage the plan in a way that wouldn't require re-advertisement of the relief, so that we're looking for a lesser amount of relief. But it's essentially the same plan.
If the board is so inclined to continue the entire application, because given the number of variances, that may behoove you to do that. But assuming you're fine with that, would you have any objection to that? Yeah. Do you have any?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
No, of course, no, it's okay.
I was just given word by our engineer, somehow or other, we are told he's not on his way yet.
Not on his way.
Sounds like even more reason. But would you have an objection if the board decided to continue the application?
No.
Okay, and obviously that could also include the applicant agreeing to the waiver of all deadlines for the board.
Correct.
Because there's no guarantee. I don't know what the agenda looks like for next month. I don't know if we can't certainly guarantee that you'll be on next month. I'm sure we'll make every effort to make that happen. The township will. But with that caveat, you're fine with continuing it?
Yeah.
It would be, quite honestly, it would be my preference. We've had other matters that were protracted where we heard testimony and then have to gear up again to try and remember. a month
I
later. So-
understand. I have the
But it's
same,
your
I have the same
application. I don't want that
problem
to
in trying to
influence your
remember. Yeah.
decision-making.
It also seems like the bulk of the questions we're going to have is for the individual that's not
Yeah,
present.
Okay, fair enough. And I just looked back at my client, and he's fine with I needed to get the approval, and I think I
course.
have it, so.
Okay. All right, so let's continue this then to the next available meeting, and just so the record is clear, you've also agreed to waive any deadlines that we have under.
That's fine, and just so that you know, we have an exhibit package. I have hard copies here that I was going to introduce and give to you. I also have it in PDF form, and if it would be helpful to the board, I'd be happy to provide it to your solicitors so that you have all those exhibits, which would also include these little modifications that we have made so that you would see them in advance of the hearing, and that might be helpful as well.
Yeah, I think you could submit them through our solicitor.
And I'll disseminate.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very
Good. Hey,
much.
thank you
Okay,
very
We'll see you
much.
next month. Okay, with that, we adjourn the meeting.